Hello, I'm Anastasia, and this is Live Sustainably with me, Anastasia, a channel where sustainable living is no longer a burden or an impossible quest. Instead, it is a joyful way back to our true human nature. In this very first video, I'm going to unpack what does it actually mean? What is sustainable living? And in the end, I'm going to reveal my own recipe for sustainable living. According to the Oxford Dictionary, sustainable development means meeting our present needs today without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. Meeting our own needs without compromising the needs of the future generations sounds a bit complicated. Why don't we try to simplify it and apply it to sustainable living? Then it becomes taking only what you really need and leaving the rest for future generations or simply for someone else who needs it more than us. You see, the aim of my channel is not to create a checklist of things that you should or shouldn't do. Go zero waste, fight politicians, stop eating meat, stop flying, stop buying clothes. Sustainable living is not about any of these things. Sustainable living is simply about taking conscious decisions, understanding what do I really need to take, to buy, to obtain right now, and what can I actually leave behind, leave for next time, leave for someone else, leave for future generations. The aim of my channel is to understand our human nature, our needs, our decisions, and the consequences of these decisions, so that we can choose ourselves what are we going to stop or start doing. We're going to look at sustainable living, taking only what we really need and leaving the rest for someone else, through the prism of the triple bottom line. Now, what on earth is that? The triple bottom line is a framework designed by J.Elkington, a British corporate environmentalist, and one of those people who deeply influenced my personal sustainable transformation. J.Elkington suggests that companies can achieve sustainable transformation by looking at their businesses from three angles: environmental, social, and economic. The beauty of this framework is that it can be easily applied to our everyday sustainable living too. Environmental aspect of sustainable living, or planet, is all about how we interact with nature, what we take from nature, how we use the resources, and how we replenish the natural resources. The social aspect of sustainable living is all about achieving equal opportunities for people around the world. And when it comes to everyday living, it can be as simple as building equal and sustainable relationship with people around you, your family, your friends, your colleagues, a stranger on the street. And the economic, as important as the other two, believe it or not, is all about the profit. And what does sustainable living actually give to us? And we're going to be measuring it both from tangible, money, health, wellness, and emotional level. Because ultimately, if sustainable living doesn't make us feel any better, what's the point? Now let's take a closer look at each of these aspects separately, starting with the environmental or planetary one. Environmental aspect of sustainable living is all about how we actually connect with nature. What do we take from nature and what do we give back to nature? And let me clarify one very important thing. We live in the 21st century, in the time of globalization, progress, liberty of movement. There's so many important and beautiful things that make our life so much better, so much healthier, so much richer in its experiences. We're not suddenly going to give up all of them, are we? Do we have to? I don't think so. Let's take a look at 2 examples so it is easier to understand. When do we really need to take something from nature, and when can we actually leave it behind? It's winter now. 20% of the surface of our little planet is covered in snow. It's freezing cold outside in many parts of the world. We're not suddenly going to go and switch off the heating everywhere. We need it to a point of survival. Where does this heating come from? And what's the consequences of this heating? These are all very good questions which we're going to uncover. But right now, right this moment, we need to stay warm in order not to catch cold, and in some extreme situations, in order not to die. We need warmth. But let's say in a month's time, it's going to be St. Valentine's Day, the favorite holiday all over the world. And suddenly, all groceries around the world are going to be invaded by strawberries. Now the question is, do we need these strawberries? You see, nature made strawberries a summer berry because strawberries require a lot of heat from the sun to generate vitamin A and vitamin K, which we later are going to eat and use to protect our own skin and our own cells from the hot sun. We're in the middle of winter right now. The question is, do we really need to take those strawberries, or can we leave them behind on the shelf? In fact, the strawberries that you get in groceries in winter are coming directly from greenhouses. They have never seen the light of day. They hold almost no nutrients. And most importantly, if you've ever tried them, they don't taste of anything. This is a perfect example of where we can actually consciously choose not to take something and leave the strawberries behind on the shelf, reject them, so that next year we see much less of them. The second aspect of sustainable living is social. How we create equal opportunities for every single person on this planet. It's all about bringing more peace and justice and education and health and nourishment. It's about promoting diversity and freedom of thinking and speaking. But most importantly, it's really about adding a little bit more warmth and love to our everyday relationships with other people. Because ultimately, when we are in a bit of a lonely or dark or hungry or miserable place, it's really hard to fight something grand like climate change. It basically no longer becomes a priority. That's why it's so important that we grow happy, healthy humans that have equal opportunities in every single part of the world, and they can come up with happy, impactful ideas to help us save this little planet. And of course, it all starts as low as our personal level. Sustainable living is all about how we build these little connections with other people every single day. What do we decide to take from these people, and what we decide to leave for them? The simplest way to look at this would be to understand our relationship with the people around us. Maybe it's our children or our colleagues. How many times per day, day after day, do we take or overtake or overrule things? And how many times do we leave something to them? How equal are our relationships? How do we balance out the things that we take and the things that we leave for them? The decisions that we push for just because we have a higher title or because we're stronger and older than our children, and the things that we let them decide on and them lead. We don't want the people around us to feel that they are living in an unequal environment where they have to obey us or they have to do as they're being told to do. We want completely the opposite. We want lots of happy and healthy humans, remember. And the only way to do that is to leave more to them, or maybe give more to them, give more inspiration, give more encouragement, give more space for them to be able to flourish and bring their wonderful ideas to life. Finally, we reach the last aspect of sustainable living, economic. And here's an interesting thing. Sustainable living is not truly sustainable if it is constantly coming at someone else's expense, including ourselves. Let's have a look at a few situations. Maybe we're trying to profit from a natural resource. Let's say we're using this delicious creamy butter to bake a cake. However, if we're not replenishing our natural resource, in this case it's a cow, we're not grooming it, we're not creating green, healthy, luscious pastures with thriving biodiversity, this butter is not really a very sustainable profit for us. Another situation, which actually happens really often, much more often than we think, is gaining from someone's failure. Let's say we overruled our child. He's going to do exactly what we told him to do, but he's crying. How sustainable is that profit or that gain for us? And the last example is probably even more controversial, but we have to have them as well, don't we? Imagine we want to buy an organic cotton dress that is coming from a zero waste manufacturer in the middle of Italy. But suddenly we discover that this dress costs 400 euros. It doesn't fit our budget. How sustainable would it be for us to buy that dress? We would probably go and look for another organic dress that does fit the budget. Because remember, sustainable living is ultimately about meeting our present needs without compromising our future needs. Everything that we do, or better to say, everything that we take and decide to leave, we take the dress or we leave the dress. It is a matter of balance. We have to always remember to be able to sustain ourselves and our families and our communities. Even the richest people on the planet have to choose what they take and what they leave. However, on this channel, video by video, we will discover that every single person on this planet, no matter your budget, no matter your situation, no matter where you're coming from, can live sustainably and profit from it. So what really is sustainable living? Sustainable living is not a journey. Sustainable living is a state of mind. Because when we take conscious decisions, when we listen to our body, when we understand our needs and the consequences of these needs, this is when we start taking our decisions with a bright, sustainable mind. And this is when real magic starts happening. Because conscious decisions leave no room for guilt. Instead, they make us feel really good. They make us feel complete. They make us feel in control of our decisions. You see, sustainable living is all about hundreds and thousands of little decisions that we take every day, whether they are about nature and planet or other people or how we're all going to profit from it. It's ultimately all about finding this balance, an inner equilibrium of what are we actually going to take and what are we going to leave? Or maybe, what are we going to take and what are we going to give? Our mission, would you choose to accept one, is to nurture this sustainable mindset so that we can start creating sustainable living within our homes, our families, and our communities. In every video on this channel, we're going to deeply dive into every little aspect of sustainable living and the triple bottom line too, so that we can start taking these decisions consciously every day, uncovering borderless opportunities, first of all for us individually and for humanity as well. We're going to focus on science and the rules of nature, the biggest wonder that managed to sustain, rebalance, and reborn itself for billions of years. But most importantly, we're going to start really small. We're going to celebrate every little step, improve with every cycle, and eventually we will develop the self-esteem and confidence to move mountains. Sustainable living starts within us. If we can't sustain ourselves, we can't sustain anyone else, let alone the whole planet. Sustainable living is like teaching. We can't really teach anyone a subject. We can only ignite someone's appetite towards it through our own passion and dedication to it. Once we find sustainability within us, the whole world will start changing, because we will become the magnificent inspiration ourselves. And this, my friends, is the magic recipe and the beauty of sustainable living.